it's Chris Eads, known online as Wootini, here with another Gay Gamer video podcast. I have a few movie reviews to start with. The first one that I saw was Shang-Chi, as promised, and it was funny because when I went to see it, I was actually not in the mood anymore, and I was kind of cranky, and I was like, ugh, and I just logged into the city, and I went to the theater, and I'm like, ugh. And then as soon as it started unspooling, I was enthralled, entertained. It was delightful, and it's one of my favorite Marvel movies now. It's just charming, and there's some great martial arts fight scenes, and it does degenerate into a CGI spectacle at the end, as these movies always seem to. But I would say that in Shang-Chi, it's better because it starts out completely like normal, mundane, and then his past is revealed and his, martial arts ability and everything, and he's like, I'm sorry, I was hiding it, blah, 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 and then, like, it's all mundane and charming and cute and funny, and then, like, as more and more secrets are revealed, things escalate and become more, wild and superhero-y, and, so that by the time you get to the magic and the CGI spectacle, I feel like it kind of it didn't come out of nowhere. It built pretty well to that CGI climax. And there's still, there's a nice grounding of emotion, and that helped keep it from being just CGI spectacle. So, super awesome. I'm probably going to go back and see it again, because the 3D was amazing. There's a fight scene on the outside of a building that, like, gave me vertigo, because it was so good. But, like, the 3D was spectacular, but the problem is that Marvel/Disney isn't releasing 3D Blu-rays anymore, so if I want to see this again in 3D, I have to see it in the theater. They stopped somewhere around, like, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. That was, like, the last one that I could legitimately purchase in the United States. And then after that, like, Ragnarok and Infinity War and Endgame, those I all had to import from Amazon.uk. But now they're not even releasing them in Europe anymore, and, like, Black Widow is only available as, like, a 4K 3D combo pack in Japan, and importing it costs almost $100. And I'm like, I love 3D, and Black Widow had good 3D, but that's a lot of money, so I'm gonna say no. And I would love to see Shang-Chi, I was doing so good, again in 3D, because the 3D was really, really good, and I recommend seeing it in 3D because it was fantastic 3D. And seeing it in theaters is the only way to see 3D now. Boo. Speaking of theaters, the next movie that I saw, I didn't see in a theater, because Malignant is actually playing on HBO Max as well, which is good, because my husband wanted to see that, and he doesn't want to go to theaters yet. He's not ready to go back to a movie theater yet. So I'm glad that I saw Malignant at home, because it wasn't really worth the trip into the city and all that. It wasn't that great. If you're a horror fan, it's kind of worth watching, because the first half of it is legit not good. Like, it's just random things happening, and nothing's making any sense, and you're just like, who is this person, and what is happening over here, and what? And the acting is not that good, and aside from the lead actress, everyone's kind of flat. And the script isn't great, and it's like, what? No, dialogue is, ugh. But then, halfway through, there's, like, a turn, and things start to gel, and then, like, by the ending, the climax is, it's just bonkers. Go into Malignant, if you have any intention of seeing Malignant, go into it as blind as possible. I thought that I had figured out what the twist was going to be, but I was wrong. Well, I wasn't wrong, I was sort of close, but the thing is that I don't think anyone could actually figure out what the twist is, because the twist is just that insane, that you're, like, watching it happen on screen, and you're like, what? Who thought this up? What? This is insane! So, it's sort of bonkers enough that it becomes watchable, even if it's still, in the end, not that good. But if you have HBO Max, you might as well stream it. It's you know, watchable enough, and the ending is bonkers enough to make it worth sitting there. It's a little too long now. Could have dropped 20 minutes easy. Then it probably would have been a little bit better. And then a better horror movie that I also saw was Candyman, which I finally got around to. I thought, you know, it's been like a couple of weeks, and I thought that maybe it wouldn't be that crowded anymore, but the theater was actually a little more crowded than I would have liked it to be. Nobody was sitting directly next to me, but it was still, there were a lot of people in the theater. I was surprised that it's still that crowded. But good for them, because it's a great movie, and I would like it to make some money. Maybe we get a sequel, because it's really good, but it just feels like set up for more, and I don't know if we're going to get more. I kind of hope we do, because I would like to see more of this, but then on the other hand, I almost hope we don't, because what if they ruin it? Because this is actually a really good follow-up to the 1992 original. It weaves in elements from that and creates its own story, and it's just terrific. The script is great, the acting is great, people make smart choices, which they don't usually do in a horror movie. There are some super creepy scenes. There's an elevator scene that is one of the scariest elevator scenes I've seen since The Eye. I got a good jump scare at one point, I remember, and there's some body horror that had me squirming in my seat. It was good. So if you haven't already seen it, I recommend it. And then, as for games, I finished Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Sort of. I mean, I got to the end of the game, I guess? I think. It's not as bad as Odyssey's ending. I don't remember Origins' ending. I feel like Origins had like a proper, like, it wrapped up the story in, and then, you know, you were good to go off and do whatever side quests you wanted to finish up. Odyssey's was just like, here's a little party in your house, and then you walk out the door and you're done. And I was like, what? Is that the end? Was that the ending? Am I done now? What? But with Valhalla, it's like, I did this whole quest, and then, like, there's a whole thing with Eivor and Sigurd is, like, running down all of the great things that you've done, because I made the good choices, I didn't, like, make bad choices. But he's running down all the choices that I did, and I'm like, okay, this feels like the end, because, like, this is where I'm going to get the good ending or the bad ending. And then I'm shunted into the present day, which I'm like, ugh, I'd forgotten about the present day, I hate the present day. And then Layla goes on this whole mission, and you have to, like, do this whole platforming sequence that was really annoying. And then try to save the world. Then there's a twist, which I won't spoil in case maybe there's people who haven't played it yet. I don't want to spoil things. And then you're like, it's sort of like it's just sort of weird, and it sort of ties together this recent trilogy. But my problem with it is that it's like, within the games, the modern day stuff is like a little piece here, a little piece here, a little piece here, and then that's it. And it never seems to add up to anything. Here, they try to take the modern day stuff from all 3 games and try to bring it together and say, this is what we were going for. And I'm like, it didn't land for me because everything was so spaced out. Like, within the game, they're spaced out, and then the games are spaced out over years, and I'm just like, it's like when you play a sandbox game, and then you get distracted by side quests, and then you're like, oh, right, there was a main quest. Let me get back to the main quest. Where did I leave off? What was the story? Who is this character again? I don't remember. You know, like, I lose track. So, spacing it out like that, when they tried to wrap it all together, and tie it up and say, this is what we were doing, and I'm like, okay, sure, why not? And then you're back in the Animus, and then you have like a little final cutscene, and then there's a little song, and then that's basically it. Except for the fact that there's like random side stuff left to do, of course, because, you know, unless you really went around and made sure you did everything. But even here, you couldn't have done everything because there's an entire section of England still yet to be explored. There's a whole other quest, not a side quest, an actual quest, that's going to need to happen there. I haven't started it yet. I was doing some random stuff I went back to Norway to try to finish Norway the way I finished Finland. The problem was I discovered that I found all the mysteries, all the wealth, all the collectibles. The problem is that one of the mysteries is one of those anomaly platforming things, and this one is crazy hard. It's probably the hardest one, I'm guessing, because I tried it like 4 or 5 times, couldn't get past the very beginning of it. There's just walls flying around, and it just kept resetting, and I'm just like, this is super frustrating, and I'm never going to be able to finish it, so I will not be 100%ing this. I'm going to collect as much of the wealth and mysteries and everything that I can, minus the anomalies. But yeah, because those suck, and they're not fun, so we won't be doing that. But yeah, it's like I finished the story of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but now I have to do more. There's a whole epilogue, I guess. Then there's all the side stuff that I haven't finished yet. So I'm still not done. Almost forgot. I want to talk about, they had that PlayStation presentation. Sony showed off a bunch of trailers for a bunch of new games. Super excited for Spider-Man 2. And slightly intrigued for Wolverine, because they did a really good job with the Spidey games, so maybe they could do a good job with Wolverine as well. That could be good. There was that Square Enix game about the girl who gets taken into the magical world and her bracelets start talking to her. Forget the name of it, but that also looked like that could be a little bit of fun. There were a bunch of games that looked pretty good, and I look forward to playing them. I'd love to play them on a PlayStation 5, but still can't buy one. Sony, you want to get on that, please? Thank you. I will always be complaining about that. Until I have a PlayStation 5 in my hot little hands, I'm going to be bitching about how they are just not available anywhere. They're so hard to get. So that's it. Sorry to keep repeating myself, but I just keep trying to put it out into the world, and maybe Sony will hear me. Fix this. Alright, that's enough. This is a long one. I apologize. Come back next time, and maybe I'll have finished Assassin's Creed Valhalla again. Who knows? Bye!